3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, yes, this conflict has been going on for far too long, but the fact that we continue to have trade with China and the fact that they haven't invaded us yet or had World War III is precisely what motivates our side of the House. It shows us that collectively, we are sticking it to the man in defense of the region, and individually, we as countries are able to fight for our nationalism and sovereignty in order to protect what we claim as ours, in order not to genuflect to those who oppress us and harm us and violate these rights. There are 3 reasons as to why the opposing team cannot win this debate. The first is on consistency of characterization and strategic framing. Speaker throughout speaker, we see shifty stances coming from government frame. On Prime Minister, they tell us that relinquishing is a last resort in order to get economic stability elsewhere, but at the same time admit that diplomacy is on the table. My question then is, how exactly is their counterfactual going to work, and how exactly will relinquishing these resources allow us to get resources elsewhere? No response to that particular material. But we tell you that given the fact that diplomacy is on the table, is precisely a reason why we should continue pushing the good fight, even though it's expensive, even though it takes long, because the point in which we relinquish is a point in which the diplomacy goes away and we lose whatever advantage we have. On DPM, they then talked about a very unclear piece of framing. It was unclear if China was benevolent or they were open to diplomacy. Either way, we told you that if they were benevolent and open to diplomacy, yes, why then relinquish it? Why do we lose the bargaining power we have, which we think is an important bargaining chip, the fact that we aren't submitting to authority? But if they were not open to diplomacy and malevolent, which is the narrative that we told you given what they've been doing in these conflicts, then we think the more we have to be able to fight and stand their ground, given they've already been violating the Geneva Conventions. All of these boats they're destroying, all of these landing strips and islands I told you from my speech that remain unresponded to. That is a point in which we need to come together, not just individual nations, but as a region to be able to defend ourselves. Now, in terms of the whip, right? Government whip bit our frame and abandoned his partners when he talked about and engaged with their chance to be malevolent. Note that this was their best attempt at engagement. And we tell you the fact that they could be malevolent is a point in which we don't submit to their authority because of the potential atrocities that could happen, the point in which we lose bargaining power. Now, ultimately, the third reason why we take this debate is in terms of the level of responses and evolution of frame. We think that Southeast Asian states are economically interdependent with China, and that's where my partner and I's characterizations and arguments come in. In status quo, we have not yet relinquished, but they continue to trade with us. That shows the size and importance of these individual countries and Southeast Asia as a region, which is precisely why China has the most to lose. My partner gave to you an important piece of framing and constructive about the Evergrande and real estate crisis with inflation that threatens China, therefore explaining why they're in this relentless pursuit to get all these territories. So, the point in which our opponents are weak, the point in which the bad man is weakened, is a point in which we do not falter, a point in which we do not genuflect, and a point in which we do not back down. We stand for these fishermen, we stand for rights, we stand for nationalism, and we stand for sovereignty. But above all, we also win the economic impacts. Thank you.